Hey everybody, welcome to the show. My name is Kelvin Ma, and today I'm here with a very special guest. His name is Jonathan Carmel. He is the founder, one of the founders of Comparakeet.com, which is it's a general review site, I would say, but it's been around for quite a while. And today we're going to go through the origins of that story, how he's grown it, and then what it looks like today, and how his other properties also look like too. So John, welcome.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. I'm super
Yeah,
stoked to be here.
yeah, me too. Maybe we can start off with your background and go from there. So how did this all begin? I know a little bit about your history, so maybe we can go back to the point when you were just working at that company before, where you met your co-founder.
Okay, cool. So basically, I studied video games, and after that, I tried to get into that kind of industry, and I just wasn't about it. It's still like a pipe dream. Um, but I got into tech because of it, because I had some design background, and I ended up moving to Israel to pursue an interesting marketing job at a company called Mary Media, which dealt mostly in like display media, which was an interesting educational experience. If any of you have worked in display before, it can be a kind of a dirty business because you're trying to show ads to convince people to click on them. So like I remember one of the ads we were running was like a big smiley face that would flash and say that you're the millionth visitor. And after about a year of that, I was done. But while I was there, I met a guy there who was very big as a side business into SEO stuff, and he taught me a little bit, and then we ended up deciding to get into it together, and so we formed, a website. I don't know if you're all familiar with those space of website builders. It's like Wix and Squarespace and all of those. So he and I and actually one other partner all decided to form just like a website around that space. And we actually started it as a sort of black hat website. We figured out some interesting ways to game Google's algorithm. Very spammy stuff. I highly do not recommend it, and it worked out very, very well for 2 to 3 months. Google caught on fairly quickly, and then it was just a cat and mouse game where just like, this isn't fun. There's no reason to do this. Why not do this legitimately? Because that in the long run can actually be a viable business that can provide a value not just to ourselves, but also to users, which is just a better way of doing things. So we took that kind of general concept of SEO and rankings. We took what we learned there and we started Comparakeet.com. Yeah, does that sort of answer your question?
Yeah, definitely. I didn't know that you guys were in Israel when you met.
Yes.
I just assumed that you met in the United States there because you're living there currently. So at this point now, the both of you live in the U.S., I presume.
Oh God, it's a little difficult with us. So we travel a lot. I would say the last 5 years, we actually haven't lived in a single place for more than 6 months. Um, his family he was born and raised in Boston and in Israel, just kind of like 50% of the time in both. I was born and raised in Los Angeles. However, my dad is Israeli. And so I would go there every summer. And I actually ended up living there for about 4 or 5 years in aggregate in the last decade. So we really just bounced back and forth between the two. But yeah, that's where he and I first met. And that's where we started Comparakeet. And now I'm here in Los Angeles, getting antsy to move somewhere else already. And he's in London for the moment. Then he's probably going to be in North Carolina. We move a lot. That's it. That's the end of the story.
I definitely agree with you in terms of how to travel because the whole, basically you're a digital nomad is essentially what that term is. But yeah, that's like the same thing I would do too is just travel, do 6 months and then 6 months somewhere else and 6 months somewhere else, or maybe 6 months elsewhere and then return back home. Our CEO Dom has actually been doing the same thing as you for quite a while. Like he's been doing 5 years of pure travel, living I think he was in Montreal before, Vancouver, and then now he's in Taiwan. So Actually, everyone, a lot of them, a lot of our team. So Dom and Alex are both in Chiang Mai right now for the Chiang Mai SEO festival, or not festival, conference.
I mean, they're pretty fun. If you've gone to any of the conferences, you could call them festivals, right?
Yeah.
That's super
um,
cool. I mean, that's the dream, right? That's why we start affiliate websites, is that we can have the freedom, and we can take a week off, couple weeks off, and just do whatever we want to do, live where we want to live.
exactly. Location independence. Um,
Hmm.
so let's talk about Comparakeet then. What in your eyes, in your words, what is Comparakeet? What does it solve? Like how have you, so you went from a website builder to Comparakeet, and how did that go?
So, the way it went is we figured incorrectly at the time. We figured that SEO was just about basically quantity of content. If we could do a lot of content on one website, and the content would be high quality, but we could just rank everywhere because we would get, hopefully links from certain places, which would propagate to everything else. The thing we didn't realize at the time was that it doesn't really work like that. It's a lot more complex than just like having shit tons of content. Otherwise, sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to curse. I don't know if it's, yeah, that's just not the way it works. Which is something we've learned over the last few years, is how to manage that. But there was a kind of vision that we were going for with Comparakeet, and we'll call it counterculture Yelp. So basically, Yelp is a whole bunch of reviews on restaurants and hotels and all sorts of things, based around users, supposedly based around users that nobody ever buys likes for there, right? Um, and so we kind of wanted to take the other perspective, that we wanted to take it where it's not users who, might have just had a bad day, or might have liked it because Indian is just straight their favorite food or something like that. We wanted to take experts who would kind of take a certain field and give you a very, very in-depth perspective of why a product or a service or a niche is good or bad. That was kind of our goal, and to slowly build out the entire website to encompass everything. Um, but like we were saying before, that's just, it's not a very effective content strategy in Google's eyes. Why would you be? It's kind of weird to have a website that touches on mattresses and website builders and hosting and e-cigarettes and all that stuff. Like Google doesn't get a good concept of like what you're actually trying to promote. So the last 2 years, Google is, or Comparakeet has actually been in, I would say, somewhat of a decline. And I think we're supposed to talk about this a little bit down the line, but basically, I would say the early last year, what year is it? Yeah, early 2017, there was a couple of Google algorithm updates, which kind of tanked the entire website. I think over the course of 6 months, we lost 70% of our traffic, and we were on the verge of honestly just selling the property, because we were just like, you know what, we had some fun, we made some good money, we've learned a lot of lessons from here. Why don't we take those to other places? And so we started shopping around for a buyer, who we've got some nice, interesting offers. But at some point, right before we decided to hit the sell button, an investor kind of came in and decided to instead invest in the company rather than us sell the property, which is pretty cool. And so the website was saved, and we decided at that point to kind of use Comparakeet as a testing grounds for categories, for new niches, for new industries that we want to get into. And then we would take whatever we learned there and build microsites around them. So, for example, one of the best niches on Comparakeet for a long while was our mattress category, which if any of you have not read about that, it's really interesting, that category, because Casper, there's just interesting drama. I would definitely take a look at some articles there. Casper ended up absolutely crushing legally one of the top affiliates, and because of that, ended up with ownership of that affiliate website. So now they're their own affiliate. It's just a lot of weirdness that happens, and it happens a lot in affiliate marketing. But it's really interesting stories there. But so anyways, That was one of our biggest categories, and we decided that yeah, we wanted to get into it. So we built our own website surrounding that. It's called Good Night's Rest. If anybody's interested, and we kind of take that that concept and use it for lots of different categories. So anytime we see something doing well in Comparakeet, we'll grab a team and we'll say, you know what, let's build a website around it and see if we can rank for these topics. And that's kind of our new process, which we're really excited about. And the next step for that process, and the new vision for the company is actually to learn how to scale that process, not internally, but to scale that somehow externally. So basically what we want to do is we want to learn how to bring in experts from outside, experts on specific topics, any kind of a topic, bring them into the company, give them a piece of the pie of a specific microsite, and have them kind of run that themselves. We provide them with the development, the design. Basically, we empower them to really build cool content, a cool website in specific niches that they're actually interested in.
That's yeah, I'm actually very happy that you kind of circled back to that mission as well, because when you first mentioned it, I thought number one, it's fantastic. All websites, regardless of how small you are, I feel should have a mission behind it. Not to be tacky or anything like that, but it
Yeah.
actually helps. It actually helps to figure out what your next move is going to be because it's based on your mission
Yeah.
that you've got for your business. And like I've seen tons and tons and tons of affiliate sites, as you can imagine, just like you have too, just from looking at, looking through keywords and things like that. And the whole model that you're talking about, where you bring on somebody who is, we'll call them an authority to
Exactly.
manage that authority website, is does actually work. I've seen it. I can't remember the exact website, but I'm gonna go on a limb and I might say treadmill.com might be one of those, because I've gone I think I went there a long time ago and I noticed it's just a giant affiliate website, but they've teamed up with somebody who is a fairly big influencer in the space, and she is the front facing part of that business. So she does a lot of the content and people trust her, but also of course it's treadmill.com. So they're making, they're making pretty good money.
I mean,
Also,
that
that
domain is a very top level domain.
yeah, exactly. That is like that's like a $250,000, if not $500,000 domain probably. It's
It's an
surprising.
exercise website.
Sorry.
It's an exercise website.
Yep, it's a review website on
On
treadmills.
treadmills.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so that's pretty cool. So your content strategy has changed simply by the fact that you notice that Comparakeet just, well, basically you missed a part of the Google algorithm which rewards relevancy for a site.
And like you said,
And
authority, which is like their
uh,
big thing is now that selling is E, right? What is the E in it? Expertise, authority, and trust, right?
right, yes.
So like,
Eat.
yeah.
So how big is Comparakeet at this moment then, in terms of like the size? Do you have any idea for that?
Yeah, so actually, it's our second biggest site now. It's so last week, the last few weeks. Let me take a step back, actually. So we talked about this idea of creating microsites with authority and trust and all of that. So I would say about a year ago, no, about a year and a half ago, Comparakeet's biggest category was lottery, online lottery ticket sales and stuff like that, which at first seemed really spammy and gross to me. But the more I'm reading about it, the more we've been working on it, it's actually pretty interesting. There's some really cool stories there. Um, and we got started with it because one of our writers, one of our top writers, actually our first hire ever, just really liked lottery, which I thought was really weird. But we went for it. We gave him the chance, and it did well on Comparakeet. And we're like, okay, well that did well. Let's give you your own website. So we started a website called Lottery Critic, and that started doing quite well, and that has overtaken Comparakeet by a factor of like maybe 30 or 40x, because in the last month, there's been all that craziness with Powerball and Mega Millions in the U.S., especially the Mega Millions, $1.6 billion. And so, like, I think the biggest days we've had at Comparakeet were like, say maybe 3,000 users, something like that, per day. And then Lottery Critic just last week, I think it hit like 40,000 in a day, which was absurd. I mean, absolutely absurd. So like, we're looking to break like the hopefully a few million a year with Lottery Critics starting this year, maybe next year. Not dollars. That would be fucking amazing. That's users per year. But yeah,
Just to clarify.
just to clarify. But yeah, we're actually putting less and less focus into Comparakeet. That's not what excites us anymore. What excites us is that vision that I was talking about of creating these microsites with, authoritative figures who are leading them, and building just really cool sites around one topic, not building these behemoths.
So, what does your business look like now then? And I mean that in a sense of, so you've got Comparakeet, you've also got Lottery Critic, and then you've also got goodnightsrest.com, I
Mm-hmm.
think.
Mm-hmm.
And so those are three sites in total. From what I understand is you have a couple other sites and things like that as part of your portfolio. So how does that look like on your end? Feel free to if you want to share the websites, feel free to share the websites. But I guess I'm also interested in terms of how your day looks like too, right? Like because it's quite hard to manage that many properties because we also do the same thing and it is not easy. You
Maybe
you
after this, you
close.
can give me some tips, honestly, because it's really not easy.
It's just
But
I don't know. It's just work. It's just work and getting systems in place and
100%.
making sure that you're not the bottleneck, basically.
Exactly. Well, that's the hardest part, really. So, also, um, what does my day look like? So, it's changed dramatically. It's evolved dramatically over the last 2 years, I would say. So, before we started building these microsites, um, I was entirely in charge of content, UX, UI, and finance, the business side of things. Business side being making sure there's money in the bank, making sure people are being paid, and making sure that we are being paid by all of our affiliates. Um, and so yeah, so at some point we started a second company, and so which we can go over at some point if it's relevant. But so basically, my partner was handling all of the SEO side, all the technology side. He left to go do the other side, and I took all control of Comparakeet and all of the websites that we were going to build. So at that point, I was actually doing all the things at once, which was absolutely the wrong way of going about things because you just don't have enough time in a day to take care of the finance and the design and the content management and the writers and the UX and the UI. So we started hiring then. And you kind of, I would make a recommendation that the most important thing is to focus on what you're good at. You'll end up liking it the most, and you'll provide yourself with the most value for your company. Um, and trying to outsource all the rest of the stuff. So for me, that was definitely the UI UX stuff and the finance stuff, which I kind of focused on. When he left, we had no one doing development, so I outsourced all of the stuff I was working on, and then I switched over. I taught myself how to code, do HTML, CSS, PHP, WordPress development, essentially, and I took over all of that. And then I also outsourced the SEO to somebody else as well. Uh, at some point, I decided that wasn't worth my time because I really enjoyed the development part. If any of you do the development, I think you know what I'm saying when I say like it's really fun to build things, and there's just so much pride that comes in to build something to show that you did it, even if it sucks, even if it's half-assed and it's not really working that well. It's just fun. But yeah, it's not. I would recommend outsourcing that, especially because there are tons of really cheap developers you can find all over the world now. We're now outsourcing to Russia, a city called Novgorod. Don't even ask how I found it, but fantastic developers who were costing us like $1,000 to $1,500 a month. Um, So in the end, now I'm at the point where actually the entirety of my workload is content management, which is, I guess, a subset of SEO. Everything I do is SEO oriented. All the design, UX stuff, outsourced. All of the finance stuff, actually, I do that too because I would not trust anyone. But yeah, all the SEO stuff now, it's all entirely me. So managing all of my writers' plates is on a daily basis kind of a thing. And I would recommend never outsourcing that if you are an affiliate publisher because that is your lifeblood. And actually, that's something I didn't start doing until about a year ago. And then I kind of threw myself in full head first. If you want to get more into that, definitely subscribe to every possible newsletter out there, search engine land, and oh god, there are so many. SEO by the Sea. Just download, subscribe to all of those, and you will become an SEO guru very, very, very fast.
Yeah, I mean, SEO is not, it's no offense, it's just, it's not the most difficult thing in the world, right? It's
No.
just a matter of keeping things very fundamental in terms of optimization. And then, well, I mean, of course, building links is probably the hardest part, but you can pay for those as well.
You can, again, I don't know if it's worth it to even pay for links. We did that's one of the black hat strategies we used back in the day when we had our very first website. That's how we kind of gamed the system, is we figured out ways of creating these PBNs and buying all the links and stuff like that, which was cool. But like, I don't even think you need to do that anymore. I don't even think you link building is obviously very important, but like with Lottery Critic, we're like top of the rankings for so many different keywords, and we've done almost no link building. We focused almost entirely on just creating solid content. I know that's really just, it's a ridiculous thing to say, and that everybody says it, just create good content, they'll come kind of a thing, but that's what we've actually found. It's not going to happen instantaneously. It's not like you create fantastic content and then tomorrow you're going to get ranked well, or even a month, or even 3 months. But if you consistently do that, it will pay off in the long run, because SEO is a long-term play. It's not a short-term play. And so if you're constantly doing your job, even if it pays off in 6 months, if you're constantly doing the right thing all the time, after your first 6 months, every day you should be seeing payoffs, right? That makes sense. It's just delayed. And so that's what we saw with Lottery Critic. We worked our asses off on it, and for the first 6 months we saw nothing, and then we're starting to see like a hockey stick curve now. We were averaging 2 months ago like 300 users a day. Now we're at 40,000. Like, that doesn't even make any sense. That blows my mind. So yeah, if I have any recommendations there, it's SEOs. Again, long-term play, focus on your content. Link building is obviously great. Take a look at all of the what they call it, the like journalistic entry stuff, like Hero and stuff like that. But yeah, definitely focus on great content that can get picked up. I think the biggest. Sorry, one more thing on that. The biggest thing that actually helped us out was that we created a really interesting piece on a guy called Stefan Mandel for Lottery Critic, and for some reason it exploded over the course of a week, and like MSNBC and all of these international major publications were quoting us because we had the piece on this one guy. And so like, that was one of the things that helped us. But it's not because we did link building, it's because we created a great piece of content which happened to garner a lot of links.
Yeah, I mean, that really speaks to kind of like the transition in people's minds as well, right? Like back in the day, I mean, of course, like, it's clear, like you built Comparakeet because you just wanted to SEO yourself out to
Yes.
every keyword out there, right?
Yeah.
But then there does become a transition where it's like it's more thoughtful, where it's like you're not just building this affiliate website, right? Like you're building a content publishing business essentially. Yeah. And content publishing businesses, just like any other online magazine, do interviews with people. They do things that are like normal businesses. It's not it's not necessarily just sitting behind the computer, even though a lot of it is of course sitting behind the computer and stuff like that. But I mean, I've seen more and more people implementing videos into their stuff, like going in, taking pictures and all that kind of stuff, all the things that that you should be doing.
I mean, honestly, that's so brilliant what you just said. Like, That's one of the most important distinctions. And like actually it's like, yeah, it's an epiphany that I've had over the last year. I am not some black hat spammy affiliate marketing because there's such a taboo around like what affiliate marketing is, right? That's not what I am. That's not what we are. Maybe some of you are. Please don't be that person. Let's take it to let's make the affiliate marketing industry a better place. That's not what we are. We are content producers and publishers. We're there. Like keyword research is not really keyword research in the sense. Don't think of it as keyword research. What you're actually doing is you're looking into the human psyche of what people actually want to know about, which is fucking cool. We have this at our fingertips. What people want information on. What your goal is, what your job is to provide the best possible information for them, and you'll be rewarded for it. I mean, it's an amazing time to be like a publisher, right? Because can you imagine being like a magazine in the 60s and 70s? You just had to produce content that you thought people might like. Like that sucks. That really sucks. Now we can produce content that people actually need, and you know it. You have empirical proof for that, which is super, super duper cool.
I have an interesting question for you, actually. So the number one, that was fantastic. Like, I definitely agree with the whole mindset shift, especially the fact is what you mentioned about how, yeah, like you're basically reverse engineering what's going on in people's heads, and then hopefully placing some content in front of them, with a little bit of technical knowledge of your H1 tags and things
Yeah,
like that. There is, it's not that simple, but we'll teach you everything. But um, so do you have a lot of friends that are doing this right now? Like, what's your insight into this? Like, do you think there are too many people publishing content trying to build affiliate sites? Like, I mean, we run a whole community of this, right? And this is essentially, well, I mean, our business is the portfolios, but we have a community of people who are basically doing the same thing as you and I. And I mean, I do know a few people who are building mattresses sites too. Like especially when the upturn came around where Casper started becoming a thing and people would order like mattresses online. Like that's a trend that sounds like it's still going to be around and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm just trying to get some insight. Like, what are your ideas of affiliate marketing in the future? Like, what do you think about that?
The industry is super interesting. I don't have I have like two friends who are in the industry. One of them is my partner, who's actually not even really so much. He's on the technology side now. And then I have another friend who is just one of the spammiest human beings on the planet. I don't. It's tough. It's tough having friends like those. But I think that it's going to a good place. I think that it's actually being separated into two different names for the industry. Right now, we have affiliate marketing as we know it, which is kind of you go to CJ or ShareSale or Amazon, you're one of those kind of affiliates. But there's a second part which people aren't talking about, which is quote unquote influencer marketing. That's affiliate marketing. That's the exact same thing. You're getting one person to find a way to represent your brand, which is exactly what affiliate marketing is. Just influencer marketing is a much more buzzy, friendly word for marketers and for CEOs and CMOs. But I think we're seeing that affiliate marketing itself is growing in an amazing way, and it's really interesting. So basically, the second company that we started is a company called Affluent. Highly recommend you guys check it out, affluent.io. We started a few years ago. I'm not really a part of that anymore. Just kind of like an investor sort of a thing. But basically, back in the day, we had this issue where we couldn't track all of the information we had, all the metrics and statistics and stuff like that. So we started this company that kind of does that. And so from that company, we're seeing major institutions now being a part of the affiliate marketing world. So now we've seen Airbnb, we've seen Uber, we've seen all these huge companies jump ship from just the traditional internet channels like display and stuff like that, and they're jumping wholeheartedly into affiliate marketing to find new drivers, to find new renters or rentals, and it's becoming a much more prevalent schema. And actually, I think I said something wrong. I don't like to call affiliate marketing a channel. I think it's more of a business model, right? Because it's not really it's not really a marketing channel in itself. It's something that it's a model in which you get other people to help you promote your brand, which I think is just kind of the way marketing should be, anyways, right? Word of mouth, as long as it's not done in a spammy way, of course. Um, but yeah, I'm definitely very long in the affiliate marketing industry. I'm again on both sides, on the publishing side, and we're investing in technologies which we want to help the industry to grow a lot. Which is it's an exciting industry. And also, like, if you guys go to the conferences at all, which I highly recommend you do, especially as a publisher, because everybody loves publishers at those kinds of conferences. They're looking for your traffic, of course, which means you'll be getting into some good parties and you'll get to booze and schmooze with all the fun people.
What
If
types of
you,
conferences are you talking about? Do you,
uh, I go to all of the Affiliate Summit conferences, so Affiliate Summit West, Affiliate Summit East. I'm going to try to go to some of the international ones as well. There's also Affiliate Summit World. There's I can't remember the names of all of them, but there's one in Spain, which is really cool. There's one in London, which is really cool. Yeah, just try and go to some of them. I would recommend it. First of all, they're fun. You get to go travel, which is kind of what we all like to do anyways. You'll meet some cool people in the industry. Oh, also, I don't know if you're going to post my information, but if any of you want to like go to one of these conferences and have a drink, you're more than welcome to hit me up. Happy to. Or if you're in LA, love to have a drink as well. But yeah, all these conferences, they're enlightening. There's a lot of talks about SEO and about security and about ways of monetizing traffic, and they're just really fun. So you're seeing them grow, is what I'm saying. And you're seeing the industry just evolve is the best word to use.
yeah, I mean, and I think to give you guys a little bit of a teaser just before you even spend the money to go to these conferences, the YouTube channel for the Affiliate Summit is pretty good. They've got a whole bunch of presentations from Neil Patel and like all these different guys. And to be honest with you, Neil Patel's is probably one of the worst ones I've watched. There's definitely some better ones out on there from people that you've never heard of. And it really is honestly, it's gonna open up the way that you think about affiliate marketing. Because for us, we have this thing. It's called the human proof method, and the human proof method is exactly what it sounds. It's just our type of way that we build content publishing businesses from the ground up, and that's mostly focusing on SEO, which is what what I think you focus on as well. But then when you watch these videos from the affiliate world summits, they are there's affiliate marketing through the Amazon affiliate stuff, which is what we talk about. And then, there's the performance marketers out there who are just running ads, creating landing pages and all that stuff. And you just learn all these different ways that how people are basically monetizing their properties. And honestly, it's just going to make you a better, it's going to make you a better, it'll just make you a better business person online, to be honest with you, not just a better affiliate. A funny story actually about that is I went to I was in Victoria, British Columbia, not that long ago, maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. I went there for a friend's wedding, and some of my friends had gone out. They'd gone to some nightclub or something like that, and I wasn't feeling too well, so I just was going to go a little bit later. I hop into a cab, get the cab, talking to this guy, and he asked me what I do for work. And to be honest with you, when people ask me what I do for work, I don't really talk about what I do for work, because I'm very interested in what I do, but I don't know how interested they are going to be. So, it's like, oh, I do this, like I do, all this, I manage all these sites, and we have all these things that we do. It's a little too much to kind of go off on a tangent very easily. Anyway, so I was talking to him, just kind of holding myself back, resisting. And he says, "Oh yeah, like I know about that stuff. You do, yeah. It's like I do performance marketing. Like we do CPA offers and things like that." And at that point, I didn't really know too much about that, so I was like, "Oh, that sounds like so different," and I'm not even sure if it's like real, And he was driving the cab, so I was like, "Okay, that's kind of strange." But he said he owned the cab company, which was
this was your cabbie.
Yeah, this was my cab driver. Sorry,
Gotcha.
I missed saying that. Anyways, it's the cab driver that was talking to me about this stuff, and he drops me off, and we exchange Facebooks because I was like, sure, I'm always down to just make more friends in the industry and learn a little bit more, But I kind of went away thinking, oh, that was kind of strange, and I just thought it was bullshit. To be honest with you, I was like, this guy's just telling me stuff. Like I do this for full time. Like this is what I do, right? Like, and I'm not sure what he does, but next thing I know, he's speaking at the Affiliate World Summit. I think it was just like the next summer.
That's insane.
Afterwards, yeah. So I was like, wow, he's legitimate. This guy. So you never know the type of people you'll bump into, and now I pay more attention to what he's saying, right? Just because purely by the fact is he's proven it by sharing the knowledge. And I did watch his presentation. His name's J A Payal. I'll link it up in the show notes, but it's a great presentation on kind of like novice introduction to what CPA marketing is all about. Anyways, that was a little bit of tangent. Let's dive back into what's going on with you. One thing I wanted to go over was the fact that you've now transitioned into the content manager role. CEO of this conglomerate of websites that you've got here. So how does your content process look like? Is there anything that's unique about it that you could tell me about?
I don't think there's anything new under the sun when it comes to content management and kind of deciding what you want to write about anymore. I could be wrong about that, but I mean, it looks probably the same as most of all of you. And if yours doesn't look like this, I would recommend thinking about maybe changing it. But like everything is always data driven, data oriented. So we'll always, I mean, I guess usually I'll start with competitive analysis using like Ahrefs is probably my #1 tool. I'll see what all my competitors are doing, where most of their traffic is going, to what pages they're going, and what keywords they're ranking for. And then I will break those keywords into kind of their own categories and see if I should make like an entire series of articles around that keyword or just one, et cetera, et cetera. And then I will sort of build a content plan for my writers based on the keyword research, which I don't know if you guys are familiar with siloing, but I highly, highly recommend that. So yeah, I mean, it starts with competitive analysis, seeing what other people are ranking for, seeing if I can steal any traffic from them. I actually build out, I not only do the keyword research, but I actually structure every single article in terms of all the headers, the H2, H1, H2, H3 inside of a document that I hand over to my writers as well. Not that I don't trust them, they can edit them, but I like to give them a good baseline so that they understand what each section is kind of supposed to be hitting. And I'm making sure that all the beats from all the different keywords that we've siloed are going to be hit in that article. And then, yeah, they go out and write it, they publish it. I have a social manager who just kind of spits it out, although this is the one drawback. I don't actually know if I'm doing correctly because I've been focused only on the SEO. But we just kind of publish it, all the social channels have never really traditionally helped us very much, but we haven't dedicated much time or effort there. And then we usually set a review after 3 months so that we can see the trajectory of traffic and rankings and decide based upon that whether it's worth, maybe combining it because it might be keyword cannibalizing, or if the content's doing well, then seeing if we might be able to optimize it in certain ways. One of our favorite things to do is when we see a piece of content doing well, if it can lend itself towards being some sort of like a media play. So like generally what I'm talking about there is probably like an infographic or a video of some sort. We try and do that. I really like infographics. Everyone says infographics are dead, but no, they're not. The easy way of getting links from the infographics is dead. Yeah, but like that's not a good way of doing it anyways. The good way is, again, create great content that you think will be shared and people will really enjoy. Yeah, that's generally kind of the content strategies we go with. Yeah, competitive analysis and keyword based.
What is a science of a media play. Um, like when you mentioned, you'll review content after 3 months, which I think is actually I haven't heard that before after talking to many people and diving into their content strategies. But of course, that makes a whole ton of sense
Yeah.
is to review that stuff. Um, so after when you look at that, like what is an indication of something that you think could be a media play? Like, could you give us some examples, maybe something tangible for people to kind of reassess what's going on in their site and say, oh, maybe this would be good for that.
Yeah. So two things. One, I want to answer one other thing. Make sure you're always annotating Google Analytics. That is probably the one biggest organizational piece that has really given us the most value. Annotations are so freaking easy. I mean, it's just you literally go to the date, you put in a note. I updated this, I updated that. And like half the time, even more, it's probably 80% of the time, you'll never go back and look at it. But it's really useful for that 20% of the time. That 20% you do look back and you're trying to like figure out why something worked, why something didn't work. I mean, it's so helpful. It's one of those things that's just a 100x improvement on your strategies.
I've never heard that before, and I didn't even know that you could do that. To be honest with you, so you're
Yeah,
telling me that you can make essentially journal entries inside
exactly.
of Google Analytics,
Mhm.
so that you can see how things, uh, whether or not you made a positive or negative change, essentially.
Exactly. Exactly. So like if I can't show you, but in my Google Analytics, in Google Analytics, in front of you, there's that graph at the top of every page. There's a little tab at the bottom. If you click that, it just scrolls down, and you can just type in an annotation. It takes literally 3 seconds to do. And we have so many annotations. Anytime anything has changed on a page, we annotate. And it's just really, really valuable.
So is
Super
it like
valuable.
time stamped as well? Is that
It's date stamp. So whatever day you have set, you can set it for whatever day you made the change, and then yeah, that's how we look back 3 months. We're like, okay, cool, we made this change. Has it created any effect? No. And then we usually try to cross-reference it with webmaster tools and Ahrefs to see like maybe it had an effect on certain keywords but not on other keywords. Um, like for example, there was one of the lottery companies is called Lotto Kings. Actually, no, a better example. One of the companies is called The Lotter, Thelotter. Now, their brand name is actually one word. There's no space in between it. So they asked us multiple times to just type to only brand them as a one word, The Lotter. But we noticed in a lot of the analytics, we noticed people, just users, were searching for the space Lotter. We were getting beat on those terms by all of our competitors, which is ridiculous. So I mean, we spoke to the company and we told them, look, we're losing money for you. Obviously, that's not necessarily true because they're probably still making the same amount of money. But we went and we talked to them and we changed a bunch of the keywords and the headers to not just be one word, but to be two words. And it's such a simple, pedantic change, but like we ended up winning that ranking as well. So like these little changes they're really really important, and that's how you run all of your experiments. It's like it's the cheap man's A/B test is what it is. um, what was the other question you asked? um,
so you had 2 points. You had the first point was this annotations that you wanted to add, and then the second point.
you asked me about what makes media relevant, right? What would
Yes.
make me want to turn a piece of content into media? I don't know if there's any really simple answer to that. I think the best way, my favorite play there is when you're siloing. And for any of you who aren't familiar with siloing, it's essentially you do the mega keyword research. You have this giant list, right, of just hundreds, maybe even thousands, maybe even tens of thousands of keywords, and you just kind of lump tons of keywords into their own lists based on um, different subjects. So if we're talking about lottery is a good example. If you're talking about lottery, then you do a keyword search for all the keywords in lottery. You might have a silo for lottery jackpots. Then you'll have a silo for lottery lottery tickets, lottery results, lottery tools. And each of those can actually turn into their own content pieces. So now you have a list with all these keywords that you can add and create your own piece for. So my favorite media play is when you have what I call a hub silo. So when you have a silo, which is a really big silo, there are tons of keywords in there, and you can't really make one piece, one article for that page. What you're going to end up doing for that silo is you're going to make one hub page that's going to link to multiple other sub pages that'll touch on all of those topics. That hub page is a great play for an infographic because now you're creating a really valuable asset for a page which will pass a lot of value to each one of those hub pages, the subset pages as well. So you have a hub page getting hopefully lots of content, lots of value, quickly summarizing in an infographic what that kind of subject is about, and then hopefully passing on value to those sub pages, which, depending on how that hub page works, you can create media for those pages as well.
That's brilliant. It makes a lot of sense, right? Like so we do talk about the silo concept to our audience. I guess you're calling them hub pages. We refer to them as pillar articles. So you've got the pillars, and then you've got the supporting articles, which is, it sounds like it's the same thing. And what you're saying is to put the infographic generally on that main hub page or pillar page, which sounds like, and then when you're getting the links to that, then the link juice is essentially spreading to the rest of the other pages.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Just make sure your URL structure reflects that as well, obviously. So like if that your hub page is the /hub, then your sub pages are /hub/article title. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it definitely makes sense. So it's like, if I don't know, let me think of, I'm not sure if I could think of an example, but yeah. I don't want to embarrass myself either by thinking of some crappy example right now.
No, you're good. You're good. But yeah, that's the way we do it.
That's super cool, man. I haven't heard those. Those are two very good tips. Let's see if we can pull maybe one more out of you. Let's talk about conversion rate optimization. Do you have any thoughts on those sorts of things? The reason why I ask this too is just because the majority of the sites that we work with are mostly monetized with Amazon affiliate market, the Amazon Associates program, or we are running ads on Mediavine. That's for us. That's our bread and butter in terms of the monetization methods that we use. We use some light affiliate programs that are not Amazon, but I mean, Amazon has everything in general. So I guess the one thing I'm thinking about is for your business, especially with like something like Lottery Critic and even with the mattress company, those probably aren't. They probably aren't Amazon Associates, I'm guessing. Well, especially not Lottery Critic. But from there, it's like, then you've got conversion rates that maybe aren't as high. So what are you doing on your end to help bump that stuff up? Like, I just want to dive into how people can increase their conversion rates from someone from your perspective, which is completely different.
So I'm going to give you two answers. One will be the non-pitchy answer. The second one, I'm going to pitch you guys on something. So number one, I already gave you kind of the first half of the equation, which is Google annotations. It's so important to be running experiments all the time. You have to constantly be hypothesizing about what you think is going to happen when you make this change, and then have some actionable way of measuring that. So the second part to that is definitely learn Google Tag Manager, and that combined with analytics goals is just so powerful. I think there's ways of doing it without learning Google Tag Manager. That's just the way I learned. It'll be a lot easier for developers, but even if you're not a developer, it's usually very easy. All you have to do is add like a CSS class. There's tons of guides on the internet, but basically what that'll help you to do is now you're using annotations to actually essentially write the hypothesis and to mark down when you created the change. And then you're using Google Tag Manager to track the changes, and analytics is there to see the results. And so this has become just such an important part of our process in the last 3 to 4 months. I ended up hiring a guy to just teach me for 1 to 2 weeks how to implement Google Tag Manager into analytics and set that all up for me, so that I don't have to do too much there, because it is a little confusing and it's daunting and a little scary, and we definitely had problems. So like there have been multiple weeks where our data was not accurate because I made some tiny mistake. But in the end, like I'm already starting to see payoffs from that. I'm seeing what pages are converting better. I'm seeing, and when I say what pages, I'm not saying about which specific page, I'm saying what types of pages. Is it the articles? Is it the review content, which is, should be the highest optimized conversion content? I'm trying to see are my interstitials providing the most clicks or revenue? God, there's so many questions that we're asking now about what placement and color and all these different things. The truthful answer is there's no way for me to give you the proper answer, because I don't know all of your websites. I don't know all of your industries. Unless you're in the exact same niches as I am, I can't tell you what the answer is. What can tell you is Google Analytics, annotations, making sure to run these experiments and making sure you actually follow through with them. So I also use Evernote. You can use whatever note-taking path you want. My partner actually just loves pen and paper. He believes that actually writing it down, that there's something, the physical part to it, trigger something in your brain, which he's read many things about. I'm not so sure about, but definitely take notes about what experiments you're running and follow through with them. Follow through and follow up with them. If you do that, you'll be able to glean so much information from that. It's really interesting stuff. And it's really fun, actually. It's really fun.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's so much fun you can learn
Compound interest, right?
From making more money.
Exactly. More money compounded is the best kind of money.
With the Google Tag Manager and goals, I'm pretty familiar with Google Analytics and that stuff, but mostly from the fact that we have our site is essentially set up, at least Human Proof Designs is set up, and it's essentially an e-commerce site. So we have the goals and things like that set up. How does that work for an affiliate site? Because you're basically sending people to a different site, right? So yeah. I'm not sure how the details are on
that. So usually, yeah, it's a tough game. You're never gonna get, I will answer that again in my pitch in the next part, but it's a tough game to play. It's a tough game to play because it's really hard to make the connection between, is this click providing revenue or is this click a dead click? So like that's one of the issues we have sometimes too with the lottery site. They don't tell us if a specific click provided us revenue. They tell us if a specific, well, we've been able to get it to the point where a specific click from a specific part of the website is credited with lead. That's not necessarily a paying conversion, which actually shouldn't be a big deal, but that's a whole nother issue. Actually, I want to write that down. One sec.
I mean, that's a good point, though, for sure, right? Is that it's hard to differentiate between what is making you money or what is not making you money. But the whole point about it is just that, you still have to figure out the first part of trying to get people to click on it in general. Yeah. So that is essentially, regardless of whether or not someone clicks, it really is part of the job is up to the vendor to do part of the conversion too on their end and making sure that they can handle the traffic that an affiliate is sending to them, because there are vendors that just don't do a good job of that, and it'll happen.
So like you're looking for generally affiliate networks who can do like postbacks, and there's a lot of different weird ways of doing it. They're not weird, they're good ways of doing it, but they require some magicry. And so I will dive into my more pitchy answer, which is, so basically with Comparakeet back in the day when we first started, I'd say about a year or two into it, we were super profitable. Everything is going great. I'm in charge of the finances. At the end of every month, I'm assuming a lot of you have this problem who aren't on Amazon. You end up having to create a spreadsheet for how much money you made this month. And that has to do with looking through maybe 10, maybe 20, maybe 100 different clients. Maybe you're on CJ, ShareASale, Impact Radius, God knows how many different platforms you have to log into and look through. So at some point, we wanted some sort of solution for us to kind of aggregate all of that data into one place so we can see how much money we're making, how many clicks, where it's coming from, all that kind of stuff. And so we built it for ourselves internally because we couldn't find a solution. And then and we had a problem where we couldn't come up with meaningful, actionable data. We couldn't actually do anything with the data that we were technically given from all these different platforms. So we created this ourselves internally. We showed it to some affiliates, and they were super ecstatic about it. And they asked us to share it with them, and we did. And at some point, it got to the point where like we formed a new company because so many people were trying to sign up for it. And so this is what I was talking about earlier, Affluent.io. And so that actually has become my biggest means of CRO, because that actually ties all of the networks into one place, so I can see where all of my money is coming from. I can see where all the clicks are coming from and leads and stuff like that. There isn't yet, I will say, there isn't yet a tie-in from all of that affiliate stuff to Google Analytics or Webmaster Tools yet. It's built for our enterprise users. It just hasn't permeated down to our smaller users yet, which we're in the process of doing. We just want to make sure it's scalable so that you guys don't break our system. But that is such a cool tool for just seeing the way your business is actually performing on a day-to-day basis, which was never available to us before, and highly recommend.
Can we dive in a little bit more into that into Affluent, just because it's very interesting. So you're talking about Affluent Affluent Analytics, I think is the full name, Affluent.io. How does, you kind of brushed over it a little bit. So like, are there links that you can use to judge attribution of whether an affiliate commission came in? Is that kind of how that works? Like, just give us like maybe some key features that even if they're not available to like normal publishers, even on the enterprise side, I think it's still valuable for people to know what's possible.
So attribution is not something we fully deal with. That's usually dealt by your affiliate network or by whatever platform the advertiser is using. We don't get to decide that. We wish we did, because we want all the attribution, because all we want to do is give you all of the data. That's all we want. But most of those networks are really outdated, for lack of a better word. And their platforms and APIs are just not very good. And so we end up having to do a lot of the guesswork with our APIs to figure out what data we can actually pull from it. Not guesswork with your data. Obviously, the data is accurate. And so some of the features, our favorite feature right now that all of the, so our biggest users are all marketing agencies. So basically they run the affiliate programs for companies like Uber and Airbnb and stuff like that. So very large agencies. And so the kinds of stuff that they really like, which we're so excited to start giving to publishers, we call it insights, marketing insights. Very cool tool. So basically you can go inside and you can set limits for different metrics, which basically will alert you when things are happening. So it's a kind of intelligent system that we sort of dumb algorithmically tells you when things are going very right or very wrong. So kind of analytics has kind of something like that too. I think it's actually also called insights. I'll take a look at it later, but it kind of tells you when things are outside certain bounds. So that way, if like a page just fell off the face of the earth, it's not like right now, you might not notice that. You might not notice that for a week or 2 weeks or 3. Maybe you'll never notice that. We are there to help you make sure you notice that. Or why is all of your traffic from India now decreasing by 5% per month? When it was your 4th biggest traffic, but that's still, that represents maybe a significant portion of revenue. Our goal is to actually just, without you having to sift through and look through all the data all the time, to give you actionable actionable insights that give you tasks already. So like what I was saying with annotations, we're kind of trying to implement that kind of same concept without you having to actually do anything and check back. It already knows, oh, 3 months ago, you were at this and now you're at this. That's a great thing or a bad thing. Change things or don't. um, we have a plethora of really fun dashboards to work with and reports. So you create these reports once, it saves them into a dashboard, and then sends them to you on a daily basis. Sounds like a pretty asinine thing, but in the end, it's actually really valuable. I mean, actually, the most value I get out of it is um, they're just daily emails that I get telling me how many clicks, how many leads, and how many dollars I made with every single client advertiser we have. I use that on a daily basis. It's really fun to look at how much money you make every day. Most of the time, not all the time. Sometimes it's really not fun, but it's enlightening. um, what else? The other side of the equation too is, and this is not something publishers will actually have to sign up for or anything, but we will start automatically promoting your websites to clients, to potential advertisers, so that they'll reach out to you and hopefully want to give you better deals, hopefully look at you and see you and maybe think that you might be a good advertising partner, potential partner, and vice versa, of course. Um, that's all I can think of off the top of my head. There's a lot of great other features though.
I mean, no, those sound pretty. I mean, they sound very cool actually. Just being number one because they can save a lot of time, and there's definitely some innovative parts in there too that I personally think would be fun to explore for just like for personal reasons even. But yeah, no, that's pretty cool.
Mhm.
So the website was affluent.io. I don't think it's set up right now for publishers, at least in our audience. But I like me and Jonathan had talked about it previously, so we'll kind of figure out a way to get this in front of you guys whenever it's, basically whenever it's ready. For
Wait, actually, it is ready. I mean, you
Yeah,
guys can sign up and start using it if you'd like. Just the one sequitur is, um, yeah, Amazon doesn't like sharing their data. Who knew? So you cannot connect to Amazon. And if the majority of your affiliates or your listeners are Amazon affiliates, complain to Amazon for us, I guess. I don't think that'll do very much. They find every trick in the book. They don't like to play nice.
yeah, complaining to the 900-pound gorilla in the room is like a little fly on the wall.
Exactly.
But maybe that's just a sign to obviously diversify your income streams too, right? Which
Definitely.
did happen. A lot of people did do that when the affiliate payouts changed about, I think it was like a year ago, pretty much, maybe a year and a half ago. So a lot of people, they called it Amazon Geddon, I think, or
Okay,
Amageddon.
I was gonna go with Amazon Apocalypse.
Yeah, something like that. But a lot of people did. So, and to be honest with you, it's still a fantastic tool nonetheless. I think we're probably ready to let you go, continue the rest of your day. I did have one question that I do ask everyone that comes on. I didn't actually write it in there, but it's going to be super simple. It's just about your favorite book and stuff like that.
Ooh.
And which hopefully you've got a favorite book or blog. The reason why I ask those things is just because it's interesting for us to see how things have influenced you in terms of your life, because I think a lot of people in the audience would be keen to build a business that's very similar to your business, right? So that's the whole reason why we bring you on here. And of course, books are helpful for people to, discover themselves and to build better businesses. So if you have a book or a blog to share that you'd like, this would be the time.
I mean, the blog that I've been I don't know. Is that going to be bad if I recommend a SEO blog on this on the
No.
stream? SEO Roundtable, Search Engine Roundtable, they have been my kind of the gurus who have gotten me through a lot of this year. A lot of it's just basic information. But they've done a very good job of getting me from 0 to like 50 in a very, very short period of time. And I don't read all of it now, but like if you just skim through them really quickly, you get kind of an idea for things that are happening and quick updates that in the SEO world, which are really important. Another really, really, really fun newsletter, which I love, is Quartz, QZ.com. That's not SEO or business related, really. It's just news, but it's my favorite news outlet. It's similar to a Search Engine Roundtable in that they'll give you like a header, a really quick synopsis of something that happened, as if you don't need to read the article, and then they give you the opportunity to read the full article if you want to. And it's stuff ranging from international, global politics, which I hate global politics, to like funny science discoveries and all sorts of really cool stuff. That's really cool. And they also give you a daily, it's called a Quartz Obsession, which they'll take one topic, like I think one of them was like mosquitoes, and they'll just write an entire post about it. And it's super fun. It's super interesting. It's like a great way to start your day. You get like 50 new cool facts you can spout to all your friends to pretend like you're actually smart. Oh, damn, I really hope none of my friends are actually going to watch this. And it's just really interesting. And in terms of books, man, I really like to be inspired. I've read a bunch of business books. I think there are some great ones out there, but I like being inspired. So like I would say the best books I've read have been autobiography, or not autobiography, just biographies. I really liked, I don't remember what it was, The Everything Store. That was Jeff
Oh,
Bezos.
that's Amazon. Yeah, that's the Amazon one.
That was a great one. I mean, the Steve Jobs one by Isaacson, and it was really fantastic too. Einstein also, same author, great one. Biographies are just fantastic because it's really interesting to get a person's perspective on how they grew into the person they are. Also, most of the time makes you realize how fortunate in our lives, because most of those people actually had really difficult lives. I mean, Jobs, he was kind of a dick, but like he definitely had a tough life, maybe self-imposed, but like it's really interesting to read about those guys. Ooh, Elon Musk's biography. Wow.
I haven't checked out Elon Musk myself. It's definitely on the list there. Benjamin Franklin apparently has a very good biography too, but yeah, I think he's got a lot. He's got a lot of biographies just because it's been such a long time.
And then I guess the second stuff that I'd like to read was similar. Is I just read a lot of fantasy. I know it sounds really nerdy and geeky, but that's kind of who I am, anyways. But like, maybe we're done with like this chivalrous, like stereotypical hero like saving everybody. But like, it's kind of fun to read those, and like it makes me want to like do better things for the world as well, which I find inspiring in those kinds of archetypical heroes. But yeah, that's about it.
Awesome. I'm definitely not a huge sci-fi fan, but I watched Dune last weekend.
Okay, cool.
First time, and it's a movie from like the 1980s, very, very prominent in the underground sci-fi scene, and it was fantastic, actually.
Cult classic.
Yeah. Anyways, guys, that's the end of this episode here of the Human Proof podcast. I would just want to say thanks to Jonathan Carmel. He's from Comparakeet and Affluent.io. John, thanks a lot for coming by.
That was a pleasure. Thank you.